Cyberverse time again, bitches! It's been a while since I've talked about this lovely little show on this side of the 100-acre woods. In case you aren't familiar with the Torb lore prior to my TF1 meme edits, Transformers Cyberverse is my favorite Transformers show of all time. In fact, this was my Transformers 1 before Transformers 1 existed. It has gotten to the point where I managed to get like a surprising number of people to come out and say that they're also huge fans of the show. Like, to me, it brings a sense of comfort because, like, compared to several of the more iconic Transformers media such as G1, Beast Wars, Animated, and Prime, Cyberverse tends to be the forgotten middle child of the bunch. If you're curious to hear about my specific thoughts on the series as a whole, especially when it comes to characters and episodes, I've linked my Cyberverse focus video essays down below in the description, so check that out after this video. Now that I have a large audience at this point, I think it's time to give this little show some love again. The reason why I haven't revisited Cyberverse in my videos recently is because I felt like I have covered everything I wanted to talk about it. However, recently, thanks to the overwhelming positive feedback to my Transformers 1 video focusing on how Orion Pax and D16 can be interpreted as autistic, I begin to think about a similar interpretation I have towards this show's iteration of Optimus. Cyberverse Optimus is a special Optimus to me, not only because of how he represents the return of Optimus Prime being an interesting character in Transformers again, but also how much I see myself in him. At first, it was mainly due to how much I relate to his struggles with his social anxiety when he's not on duty. Like, as I said in my episode ranking video, Party Down is among my most rewatched episodes of Cyberverse due to how it's essentially a character study of how Optimus is someone who struggles with the weight of expectations on his shoulders. As a result, he is hesitant to be in a more relaxed environment because all he ever knows about is being the leader. However, the more I thought about his character, the more I realized that his entire personality can be interpreted as someone who is on the autism spectrum. Thus, I am very happy to say that this man is also my favorite autism creature. The first thing most people think about when it comes to this Optimus is the way he talks. Now, and I expect y'all to behave in the comments down there. For a long time, the voice acting actually never really bothered me. Mainly because, like, I feel like so many people were too cruel towards Cyberverse Optimus's voice actor, Jake Tillman, mainly because of the train wreck that is the War for Cybertron trilogy. This is where voice direction can make or break a performance, because when I was watching clips back to back so that I can compare his performances in these two shows, it's like night and day. In Cyberverse, the voice direction allowed him to do his own thing. True, it was a bit shaky at the start, especially since he needed time to find his own way in the performance. Over time, it felt more natural. Like, compare Optimus's voice in the first season to his voice in The Perfect Decepticon.
Bumblebee, back on your feet. No matter what, we push forward, old friend. Forward!
Our need is great, and I can assure you, Thunderhowl, it will be used wisely.
This is an entirely different story for another day. I've written an extensive blog post on my Tumblr about why we owe Jake Tillman an apology and why one voice actor shouldn't be the end-all be-all of a character. If you're curious to read about that, I've linked that blog post down in the description as well. In a nutshell, it's time that we give Jake his flowers for his portrayal of Optimus Prime, because the voice acting ties into why I consider this Optimus autistic. Cyberverse Optimus speaks in a very reserved and more stilted way. At first, it can come across as uncanny, especially when you compare it to how more natural the other characters speak. However, the more I think about it, the more I feel like it reflects how he can be seen as someone with autism. One of the most defining traits that vary from autistic person to autistic person is how we talk, due to how the brain processes information, in which these are social cues. It can result in adopting a speaking pattern that feels very comfortable to you. You tend to notice that I am very prone to speaking quirks like or like in my videos. Yes, I've read your comments about that. I've seen them. This is because this is what feels comfortable to me specifically. It's how I communicate with other people. Now let's go tie this back to Cyberverse Optimus. His stilted tone and how he's very straight to the point reflect how underneath the badass prime demeanor, he is just a very shy and quiet person. We see that he's more the observer whenever he's present for group discussions in their more relaxed moments throughout the show. When he does talk, he talks in a way that he feels the most comfortable with. The way the other characters easily understand him can be reflected as him being used to how he talks. Like, that's just how they interact with him, and it can also be reflected as them interacting with him in a way he understands. That isn't to say that they are always remembering his limitations with social interactions, which ties into his most second prominent trait, his social anxiety. To summarize my point about Party Down in my Cyberverse episode ranking, it's my favorite non-finale episode in the series overall due to how it made me feel seen as someone with intense social anxiety. While this is a general issue that everyone faces, it's much more significant when you're autistic. The thing is that due to how autism affects information processing, which includes how you express your emotions, social interactions is a hurdle that I had to overcome extensively throughout my childhood. A lot of social cues were confusing to me. For example, I didn't comprehend how having a loud voice is considered impolite by most people. As a kid, I often forget about controlling the volume and tone of my voice in my conversations, so my family members often reminded me to use my quiet voice whenever I'm talking. While I have gotten better at using an appropriate tone and volume as I get older, I do sometimes forget. Like, after all, at the end of the day, I have limitations, and that's okay. Combined with other factors such as struggling to find a conversation starter so that I can talk to more people, or keeping my sentences straight to the point so that it doesn't confuse people, social interactions are a constant learning experience for me. So when I see Optimus also struggling with that in this episode, it feels really comforting to me. We see that he's not used to being relaxed whenever there's no conflict. Sure, you can see it as a commander struggling to find the balance between being a leader and being a friend. However, what adds an interesting layer to his struggle is that it can be interpreted as him being off-put by social interactions because he doesn't comprehend it the same as everyone else. It also doesn't help that he is thrusted into a scenario where he was asked to make an encouraging speech to everyone at the party. Well, it does become awkward due to how he very visibly struggles with his words and tone. Thankfully, Grimlock came in and finished the rest of the speech for him. After that, he simply just hung around and gave us this adorably awkward gem.
What do you think, Optimus?
I think it is quite circular.
Later on in the episode, as Starscream makes the party more chaotic thanks to tampering with the little Energon badges, we see Optimus stepping outside for a moment so that he can take a much needed time away from the overstimulating environment of the party. I assume that had it not been for Starscream messing things up for our main amigos intentionally, Optimus would have returned to the party in a much more comfortable mindset. Like, this serves as a great lesson for everyone in the audience because it teaches us that it's okay to remove yourself from an overwhelming environment until you feel like you're coming back on your own terms. After the day is saved, it all culminates in perhaps the best scene of the show overall. Oh, my sweet autistic prince, you are too precious for this cruel world. So, in general, it's this specific aspect of Optimus that draws me to him as a character. Like, he is me. I am him. He is so me struggling to find my place in a crowded room. Like, he taught me that it's okay if you feel alone and awkward in a social gathering. Like, while we all fear rejection, what matters is that there are people who will become your friend in spite of your limitations. In spite of their differences, the entire crew is supportive of one another, and you can tell how much love is shared between Optimus and his crewmates. Finally, one more noticeable trait that shines especially in the Perfect Decepticon is his hyper-empathy. Similar to Orion Pax in Transformers 1, Cyberverse Optimus is a kind and gentle person who always believes in the best in people, even if they really don't deserve it. This is why he and Megatron often have peace talks every few years or so. Like, in spite of the tension between them, you can sense that a part of them wants to amend their broken bond and become close again respectively. However, time and time again, we see Megatron taking the sympathy for granted. God, this guy pisses me off. Like, the straw that broke the camel's back for Optimus is when he abandoned the universe out of, petty spite, during the entire ordeal with the contestants. Just, what a fucking douchebag. That's when Optimus finally chose to cut off his former friend, as he should, and focus on repairing his part of Cybertron so that it can flourish once again. While we see Optimus limiting the extent of his good nature for the rest of the series, unfortunately, old habits die hard when Tarn shows up. In The Perfect Decepticon, upon hearing Tarn's pleas of help, Optimus offers a helping hand in finding the One Piece. While Soundwave and Shadow Striker were rightfully suspicious of Tarn's true intentions, Optimus sadly did not consider that there could be more nefarious goals in mind for Tarn until it's too late. I feel like people rarely talk about the lack of understanding true intentions as another trait of autism. Though this could be more of a me thing, so feel free to share your thoughts if you have something similar to me. Because of how autism causes the brain to interpret social cues as something entirely different, it unfortunately results in lack of proper insight into a person's character. Growing up, this is something that my mom had to teach me about, because some people aren't always good. So here's the thing with me. I don't know how some people are truly even as I grew older. While I'm able to read into people's characters, recently, sometimes that slipped my mind. To me, the idea of someone being a bad person was and is still a foreign concept to me. Thus, it always makes me feel sad for Optimus every time I watch this finale because you can tell that his good intentions will bite him in the ass around the midpoint. While thankfully the day is saved, I can't help but wonder if things could have turned out differently had Optimus just listened to Soundwave and Shadow Striker about this guy. Just, this guy is so me-coded, and in both good ways and bad ways. Overall, Cyberverse Optimus is the best autism creature. Being an autistic Transformers fan for a long time, I really like how characters in this franchise can be interpreted as autistic depending on how they're written. Cyberverse Optimus is one of those characters that deeply resonates with me because, well, he is me. He represents how someone who is autistic can struggle with finding his voice in a role where everyone expects him to be the best. To me, he is someone who makes me feel comfortable in my own skin. Thank you for following along this journey with me. I really enjoy making these videos alongside my chaotic meme edits, mainly because this topic hits a personal note for me. I'm glad to see these little videos take off, so I hope to do more in the future. Alright, so first order of business, please do me this favor. Before you head to the comments to give your thoughts on today's topic, I politely ask you all to please refrain from talking about Jake Tillman, unless it's either talking about how the voice direction did not do his voice acting justice, or you want to express appreciation for his performances in either Cyberverse or the War for Cybertron trilogy. This is because, even to this day, I have the misfortune of coming across some genuinely nasty comments about the poor guy, so I will remove comments that speak ill about him. You have every right to feel upset about how Hasbro treated union voice actors in that era, but it does not give you the right to take it out on the non-union voice actors. Anyways, now with that out of the way, feel free to let me know about your own takes on Cyberverse Optimus being uber autism down below. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to like and subscribe, turn on all notifications for the latest video. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.